Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday to everybody out there. It's time for Troop Talk Live. I'm Aaron. This is Angelique. How are you doing, young lady?
I'm fine, Aaron. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us today. We just talked to Angelique last Friday, so we've had a lot of Angelique this week. But what I always say is you can never get enough Angelique. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate that very much. And a special shout out to Rusty, who commented a full 48 minutes before the show even started. My man, Rusty from Pack 84 in New Philadelphia, Ohio. Good to see you, sir. Today's topic, and Angelique and I were talking about this before we started. I still get the occasional email from folks going, whatever happened to JTE? We love our acronyms here at Scouting America, right? And people say JTE, and us old timers know that that's a program called Journey to Excellence. We are here to answer that question. At Journey to Excellence, JTE has been replaced by something that we believe is better, more efficient, more useful. And that's what Angelique is here to talk about with us today. Starting us off, Angelique, what did ever happen to JTE?
Okay, yeah. So JTE is Journey to Excellence, and it was discontinued at the end of last year. Journey to Excellence was meant to be a tool to help a unit plan an ideal year of scouting. So it was different for Cubs and Scouts BSA and venturing, and we're here to talk about Scouts BSA today. I got to remember which show I'm on. Scouts BSA today, and the whole idea was you use it to help build that ideal year of scouting, things that we know make a good troop. In practice, we found that that was not what was happening for a lot of units. A lot of units were not looking at it at all until right before their council was requiring it to be turned in. And so they were doing it with the recharter, and one person would look and try and scribble things in, and they weren't maybe always trustworthy, just filling it in to try and earn the patch. And they used to have a ribbon too, right? And so it would be to earn the patch. And the whole point of doing it for most units was to earn this patch. And it wasn't really being used as the tool that it was supposed to be used as. So we decided that it wasn't actually helping most units. Now, I'm sure there are exceptions to every rule, and there are some units who were using it regularly, consulting it every month to help them build a great troop. But in general, it wasn't being used like it was intended to in the field. And that's what our research told us. So we decided to discontinue it because it was also cited in some of our feedback as a pain in the butt for unit leaders. It was just one more thing they had to do that made life difficult to get that filled out, more paperwork. So we discontinued it, and then each program was challenged to come up with some way for the unit themselves to self-evaluate, some way for them to take a good look at the program that they are delivering locally, and then how do we improve upon that. So our self-assessments that just came out this past year are our Scouts BSA's method of helping a unit assess itself to understand what our strengths and our weaknesses are in our own unit.
So the answer to the question, whatever happened to JTE, is that it has been replaced with the Troop Self-Assessment program / tool, which, as Angelique said, is kind of designed to be used throughout the year as you go along to make sure you're just doing the things that we know are useful and things that, you know, all high functioning troops have in common, right? There are certain little things that they do, and those are things, if you do the Troop Self-Assessment tool, you'll learn that you may very well be doing most of these things already, and that's great. If you're having success, there's a good chance you are, but no matter how well you're doing, maybe there's some things you haven't thought of, right? And that's what the Troop Self-Assessment tool is for. Angelique, the story that you told about JTE, it reminds me of maybe someone, I'm not naming any names, but someone like me who goes to the dentist every 6 months, but you only floss like that night before.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like maybe what that was like.
Yeah.
The Troop Self-Assessment tool is cool because it's divided into segments. I think there are 9 different areas, and they are or can be, I think, filled out by different people, right? It's not meant to be just filled out by one person the night before you recharter, right? Can you talk about that structure and how that's set up and why it's like that?
Yeah, so this was made to be much simpler and to be done by more often and be done by more people. So I was I was a committee chair for many years, and I definitely was the one doing the recharter and the JTE. And it would happen like before recharter, and I would spend several hours looking through all my records, going, "Oh, I don't know. I've got to fill this out. I don't know what number I'm going to guess." So this new system is for multiple people, and they're shorter and they're simpler. So it's something that you look at throughout the year, and you can have other people compare their results in the unit. So if you look at the page, and I think behind the scenes, Brian has that page pulled up. But if you look at that page, that has a self-assessment tool. It's arranged in 3 different categories. There's a section that's for the youth to fill out, a section that's for some different roles in the committee, and a section for the Scoutmasters. And each one of those areas only has like 9 to 12 questions in it. So it can be something that's used regularly. Like this month, we're going to take a good look at program. And then you can send your scouts to answer or your PLC to answer the survey, and then you compare results. So it's very different cadence than what used to happen with the JTE.
Yeah, very, very cool. And it's really fascinating that you said one of the segments is designed to be filled out by youth.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I want to get into that here in just a second. But to be clear, this troop self-assessment is designed to be a tool used, what, Angelique, throughout the year, once a month? What's the official recommendation? Whenever they want to?
Yeah, year round. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different sections, 9 different surveys that can happen. So if you are doing them once a month, and then you maybe like take a month off for Christmas or take a month off for a summer camp, whatever, you're in good shape. Like if you're using them regularly. So if or you can have different parts of your unit or your troop taking them simultaneously, and then say, okay, what have I learned from this, and bring it to the table. So it's really something regularly, and you can take it like again and again, like during the year, to see if there's been improvement.
Yeah, that's another thing that's really great about it, is it's meant to be done multiple times. It's just a series of, like a checklist, a series of questions, a self-assessment, if you will, just to sort of measure how you're doing. Yeah. And, if there's a couple of questions that you can't answer the way you'd like to, that's okay. Yes. That's why they're there, to let you know about these things. So we encourage everybody, you don't need to be too critical of yourself, right? This is just an assessment tool to just kind of give you an idea of how you're doing. Do I have that general message right?
Yeah, you do. And I mean, there's no wrong answer. There's nobody's grading this.
Not a test you're going to fail.
Nobody's looking at it. You're not like losing out on a ribbon or a patch if you don't answer it truthfully. Like it is literally just a tool to help you yourself identify, oh, I didn't even know this was an issue. And I see that this is an issue. I didn't even guess that this would be an issue in my unit. And now I know about it, and I have resources for it.
Yeah. And if you're a Scouts BSA volunteer who is part of a troop that has been running for years and years and has, bustling membership, if you go through those troop self-assessments, there's a really good chance that your troop, it can probably check all the boxes and answer yes to all the questions they need to. If not, that's okay too. That's the whole point of the thing. There may be things that even you haven't thought about. So I love how it can be used by troops of all sizes. We know that there's troops of all kinds of different sizes. There's giant, huge ones, and there's some that aren't so giant, huge. There's some that are rural. There's some that are in the middle of a city, whatever it is. The troop assessment tools are designed for everyone, which is really, really cool. I want to talk about the youth participation, Angelique, but before I do that, shout out to Rob. Good afternoon, you, sir. Daniel says Buffalo is in the house representing. Daniel, good to see from you. Our friend Tamara is here. Tamara, always good to see you. Tamara says shout out to Angie and Aaron, and also to Rob. Amy, good to see you from Troop 2316 in the Natural State Council. Behind the scenes, Brian has posted the link to these self-assessment tools in the chat on a bunch of different channels. Wherever you're watching, you should be able to find that. Okay, so Angelique, 4 of these surveys are specifically designed for youth leaders. We're talking about senior patrol leaders council, that kind of thing, to complete. That's definitely a change from the old YTE. Can you talk about the reasoning behind that and the strategy there?
I would be happy to. Okay. So in the past, JTE was answered generally by one person or by the committee, and it was something that was done. It was all adult driven. And Scouts BSA is supposed to be a youth-led program, and the youth are supposed to have input on their own program. Now, I, as an adult, could go and answer that, and I'm like, yeah, our activities were great this year. I think they were fantastic. Did I ask the Scouts? Did the Scouts say that the activities were fantastic? Did the Scouts say that the activities were fun? Did the Scouts say that the meetings were interesting and kept them engaged? That's who should be answering those particular questions. So in JTE, we had things like we had so many meetings per year and we had so many campouts per year. That doesn't give you any information as a unit of whether our Scouts actually found those campouts or those meetings engaging. So the whole point behind this is that this is a conversation, this is starting a conversation between you and your youth about the quality of their own program. That's the biggest part of this. And there's a great question in the comments. This looks great. Words by Coleman. This looks great. I especially like the youth responses. How can the Scoutmaster or the committee chairs see the results from our troop?
You're on the right track, Words by Coleman. By the way, we can't click on your profile from here, but I would love to know what Words by Coleman means. Let us know. But in the meantime, great question, Angelique. Your thoughts? Yes.
Yeah, so that question is fantastic because, yes, this is supposed to be completed by the senior patrol leader or the patrol leaders council or even the Scouts in the troop. What happens when you take this is you can enter your email at the end of the survey and then you get a copy of your answers that you had. So if I'm asking my Scouts to fill this out, I could say, hey, Scouts, can you go take this and then bring your results to the next meeting and then we'll chat about it. And that is a great way to get feedback from all of the youth in the troop. So the answer to that is to ask them to share what their results are, or to ask them to share what their results are from their email, print it out and do it anonymously, which is a great way for the adults to get feedback about the program that they're helping the Scouts deliver.
Yeah, and I have a dumb question, Angelique, but you mentioned going online. This is a tool that can be completed online if they choose to, or you can print it out and do it the old-fashioned way. Am I right about that?
So it's an online tool, and there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that. When we first launched it, it was PDF driven. And the reason behind that is because we wanted tools out there immediately. Since we took away the Journey to Excellence, we wanted our units to have something right away that could help them make sure that they understand how they're building a strong troop. Unfortunately, those PDFs were really challenging to score. And that was what we're trying to get away with, right? Because the score, we don't want a score. We don't want you to rate yourself by a number or a grade. We want you to think critically about your answers. So the PDF, people were so worried about the score and the number and did they get a patch? And that's beside the whole point. We don't want to focus anything on that. So it also doesn't help us, and we'll talk about in a minute what actually shows up in the results, but it's supposed to be links to resources to help you improve in all those different areas that you show that you might need help with. So by making it an online tool, which is what we were working towards all along, we just needed something in the interim, then online tool takes away that emphasis on like, how did I score compared to everyone else, which is not the point, and more about the resources themselves and making those very simple and easy to deliver to the unit. So instead of someone having to sit and do math and trying to figure out their score, and then that doesn't tell you anything. That doesn't tell you how to improve. But this entirely web-driven, the survey helps you, not only does it help you know a little bit more about yourself, it links you right to resources that you need, and then it gives you a copy of your answers so you can remember and find those resources again later.
Yeah, and I would argue, Angelique, that just getting a passing score, a 60, a 70, whatever it is not really the goal, right? The goal is just to go through the checklist, make sure you're doing all you can to have a healthy, strong unit offering the scouting program as it is meant to be offered. Maybe there's some things you can improve on. That's the whole idea. Got a lot of folks in the comments. Shout out to Wendy. Tamara says, hi, Wendy. Hope you're having a great day. I agree. Good to see Gary from Troop 700 in California. Elizabeth says, hi, Aaron, Angie, and Tamara. Good to see you, Elizabeth. Danny from Troop 171 in Boulder, Colorado. Oh, Danny. So Words by Coleman is Danny's business profile. She posted under the wrong profile. It's okay. No problem. Very cool. I love it. This is very cool. There's another thing, Angelique, that some of our really diehard volunteers might know about. I actually wasn't even familiar about this, but it's called unit metrics.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is different from unit metrics.
Yes. Yeah. So I'd be happy to talk about that. Unit metrics are actually new. And if you are...
I don't feel so bad not knowing about it. Okay, good. It's new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unit metrics are, if you're a Key 3 in your unit and you go to your My.Scouting page, you see your landing page for your troop. And it is a page that has all the information about your troop, like training and everything. And then there are different metrics. You'll see either a little green box with a fleur-de-lis or a gray box with just a circle and a line through it, next to training, size, growth, advancements, and outdoors. And those are simply a measure of, if you meet this threshold, we know you're less likely to fold as a unit, or you're more likely to be successful as a unit and not fold in the next year. So what it looks like is, if your unit has, let's see, a great example is size. If your troop has more than 12 scouts, your box will be green, because we know statistically, if you have 12 or more scouts, you're more likely to make it through to the next year and be successful. If you have under 12 scouts, your box is going to be gray. I see a great comment.
Don't worry about Rob's comment. He just loves to joke around about that.
But the unit commissioner, the commissioners have had the access to this for a year longer than everybody else. So commissioners can see this as well. But it helps you know whether or not your unit is more likely to make it through to the next year. So this system that we've built, this self-assessment system, uses some of those same metrics, because the metrics were based on some of the same data, but it's different. It's separate from that system. So our self-assessments are more in detail, are more in depth, and they're very specific to each program. And they're based on questions in our adult leader guide and our youth leader guides that help the leaders of the unit know what builds a successful troop.
Daniel asked a really good question. I think we're going to get to this later, but I think since Daniel asked it, we should address it. If you see something in the assessment where you find a deficiency, which, hey, that's actually good news, right? Because you're learning about something you can improve on. Where do you go to get advice and get help, Angelique?
So your unit commissioners or your commissioner corps in your council, any commissioner, could be a unit commissioner, district or council commissioner, they can help you navigate, and they can also give feedback that comes back up to national level for helping us fine tune these assessments, these self-assessments. So they're the great people, because they have both information on the unit metrics, and they have a direct line to help give feedback about the self-assessments. So pass that along to them and it'll get to me for sure.
Awesome. Very, very cool. We talked a little bit before about, it's not just about getting a grade or getting about a score. Some of these assessments, some of the things they look at are a little more subjective. Not just did a camping event happen, but how fun was it? How many people showed up? Can you talk about that a little bit and why the importance of putting things like that in there?
So the unit metrics, right, they're auto-generated, like how many people in your unit are trained, how many campouts did you have per year, whatever. The self-assessments are meant to be both qualitative and quantitative, which is fancy words for, we want to know the numbers, yes, of how many campouts you went, but we also want to know, were they fun? Did your scouts think they were fun? Did the scouts have opportunities for advancements during those campouts? Because that matters a lot. If you see that your scouts are not attending your campouts, it's really easy to say, well, kids are just busy these days. But it asks you to get kind of real with your scouts and say, okay, now share with us, why aren't you coming? Perhaps you might find out that your scouts want to have campouts that are more engaging, or perhaps they want campouts with more opportunities for advancements. You don't know until you have that conversation with them, and this helps start that conversation.
Awesome. after the surveys are complete, Angelique,
Yes.
troops receive some information from Scouting America with tips and resources. Can you tell me about that process? How does that work? What does that look like? What should people expect to get from us?
Sure. So when you complete the survey, and it doesn't matter who's completing it, so it could be the scout or the adult, each answer that you give generates links to materials. Now, we all know scouting.org is a massive website, right? It is a massive website with a massive amount of information. And sometimes it can be challenging to find resources on our website and through all of our different materials.
Yep.
So what we attempted to do is to, for each of those questions, depending on your answer, it will generate a link to resources that you will probably find really helpful. So for example, if you are answering that your troop meetings your scouts are saying your troop meetings are not interesting, it's going to take you links to pages that have lots of information on how to build more interesting troop meetings. And it could be Aaron on Scouting articles. It could be some of our troop leader resource pages. It could be some of our commissioner videos that are out there. It's attempting to give you all kinds of different information that you might not have seen before, which is the whole goal.
Awesome. Daniel asked his question. We talked a little bit about the role of commissioners. Let's get into that maybe one more time real quick, Angelique. Some folks might not know commissioners are volunteers,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
They may be assigned specifically to your unit or to multiple units. They might operate at the district level. Mm-hmm. They might operate at the council level. But there's kind of an interesting relationship ongoing between adult leaders, commissioners, and youth leaders.
Yes.
Can you talk about that dynamic a little bit and how the troop assessment tool kind of feeds into that and how that works?
Sure. So your commissioners are basically your helpers for your unit. They are your trusted advisors. So commissioners, their role is to be your single best resource when you have questions about scouting or how scouting works. And if they don't know the answer, they will go find the answer for you, because that is literally their job, is to figure out what you need to be successful. So they will come talk to you in an ideal world, they're reaching out to you regularly to say, hey, what do you need? What can I help you with?
Right.
And they will share information with you and have a conversation. But to understand what you need, you might not even know what you need in your unit. So these self-assessment tools, we encourage you to share with your unit commissioners, because they can help start conversations that are even more informative than the links that we give. So if your unit is saying, yeah, we have boring meetings, we're not sure how to fix that. Yes, it gave us links. Your commissioner, once you show that to them, like, oh, well, did you know that this troop 1 hour away from you has these fantastic idea for these meetings? Would you like to get to know them? And they can share some of their ideas. That's what a unit commissioner does. Helps you link into some of those local resources as well. So it's a great conversation starter that you are sharing back and forth with your commissioner team.
Yeah, if you don't have a relationship with a commissioner already, now's a great time to start. Reach out to your local council. We've mentioned before Roundtable. Go to Roundtable. You can meet volunteers there. You could invite a commissioner to come to like a committee meeting, I think, right? And just sort of be part of the group and participate and offer ideas and suggestions. I want to give a quick shout out to Wendy. There's always somebody in the comments who does a great job of tagging friends. The winner of that prize today goes to Wendy, who has tagged a handful of friends in their comment. Wendy, we appreciate it. Rob says, yeah, we could do a whole show on commissioners. We have, and we probably will again in the future. Just a few more minutes left with Angelique to talk about the troop assessment tool just rolled out within the last year or so, I think, right? Replacing the old Journey to Excellence tool. Again, there are 9 survey areas. Each one has a slightly different purpose, and different sections of them are designed to be filled out by different people. Some of them are designed to be filled out by youth, which I think, by the way, is a really, really cool addition to the program, covering things like advancement, troop administration, finances, things like that, all the things that go into having a healthy, functioning troop that is much more likely to continue to reach harder and grow and to offer the scouting program to more and more people. Angelique, now that this has been in place for, I don't know, has it been a full year yet? Maybe not a full year?
Not quite a full year, because remember we started with PDFs just to get something out there, and then we
Right.
moved to the online tool.
Gotcha.
So it's been a little less than a year. Yeah.
Okay, so in little less than a year, I'm curious, are there any areas that have showed something that maybe you weren't expecting? Any, that kind of surprising areas, anything like that you've come across?
Sure. So there definitely, it's always going to be a work in progress. We worked with the National Youth Council, which, every year is a new cohort of youth from across the country. And they helped us improve some of the questions that are for Scouts to ask about how the Scout experience is of the troop. So some of those have been updated and will continue to be updated. Likewise, when we have new resources or when we come up with other questions that we haven't thought of yet, the whole point of this is that because it's an online tool, it's easy for us to update. It's easy for us to add more resources. It's easier for us to make it more effective as we go on. And as we hear feedback from the field about this was really helpful and this wasn't.
Awesome. Yeah, one of the things that I love about our most current generation of volunteers like Angelique, and this is true at the Cub Scout level with Tamara as well, is that we don't do things just for the sake of doing them. We are not afraid to listen to feedback. And by the way, Erica in the comments has a suggestion. Erica, you've come to the right place. We'll make sure Angelique sees your note there. But yeah, moving forward, Angelique, how will you assess the assessment tool to know if it's working? And I mean, there's no guarantee it's going to stay exactly the same. What's great is you have the ability to modify it going forward, and probably will. Can you talk about what you see in the upcoming years?
Yeah, so definitely, because Scouts BSA is youth driven, we want feedback and input from the youth. So the youth council, the current youth council, just started their term. They are looking at the youth section of the questions, and they will make some improvements there. The last cohort really influenced on that as well. Again, feedback from the field is very important. So when we hear things from the field, we'll use it as people are sending things to their commissioners or directly to us. One of the things that we get a lot is why I want this offline so I can take it to my unit. And the offline, the printing the PDFs kind of defeats the whole point, because what we're trying to do is when you take the survey, it gives you links then and there to resources. What we've done, and this is different, so it's hard to wrap our heads around how this is going to work. We're asking you, if you want to do this as a group activity, have the individuals do it at home and then bring their results to the meeting. That way you have the results from everybody there, and you can compare answers, which in and of itself is really helpful, because if you have one Scoutmaster saying something is great and another Scoutmaster saying the same thing is not great, with the youth, then you found a problem. Then you found something that you can address, perhaps by looking through those links. But the offline tool is not, the PDFs. They're not as useful as having the online tool.
Yeah, that the main goal of the assessment is just to have people take a look at their own programs and realize maybe if there's some areas they can improve on.
Yes.
You might not know, and that's totally fine. That's a totally natural part of the process.
It's to start the conversation and then to take you to resources. That's
really, if it starts the conversation, mission accomplished, I think, right? I mean, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome. Real quick, Lizette says, when is the next National Youth Council? I think it's basically runs like with the school year. It just started, I think, right, Angelique?
It just started. The watch in August. We send out on every single channel. We send out information on how to apply for the National Youth Council. So start watching in August of next year for next year's cohort.
Yeah, next summer would be the time to start. Late summer is the time to start paying attention as they start putting together. There's an application process, Lizette, in case you don't know about that. If you go online and look on the Aaron on Scouting blog, you'll see some stories about that. Angelique, this is great. One of the, as a personal note to folks watching, I've had the opportunity to interact with Angelique and other volunteer members. I think she'd be the first person to admit she doesn't do it all by herself, right? She's got a whole crew of folks. I get paid by Scouting America to be here. They do not. They do this because they have a passion for the program, and their loyalty does not lie with their own biases or their own feelings of what they want the program to be. They look at what best serves the program, to best serve our youth, which is really, really cool. That's really cool. So shout out to them for doing all of that. Angelique, before we let you go, any final things we need to say about the Troop Self-Assessment surveys? Brian, throw that URL up one more time on the screen.
Yeah, I do want to address one last comment that I see about in our past, they were required to turn JTE in with their charter. Again, no, this is entirely not the point. This is not for your council to assess how you're doing. This is for you as a unit to help you understand where are your strengths, where can you use improvement, and help you start conversations if you choose with your unit commissioners if you are reaching out for help. This is not something we want to encourage. This is not a grade reporting system. This is not an award system. This is simply a system for you to help identify where you can grow as a unit and be a stronger troop.
Yeah, this is not a final exam that you just study for the night before and turn in when you recharter every year. Right. This is more of an ongoing thing. And again, a lot of you will go on there and do the troop assessment and go, oh, yeah, we're already doing that. We're already doing that. That's great. There's probably going to be something where you go, oh, I never even thought of that. And that is the real purpose of the troop assessment tool. Self-assessment tool makes everybody's job easier, makes your unit stronger, keeps scouting going, gets the Scouts BSA program to more families. I mean, I can't really argue with any of that, Angelique. Tamara says, thanks so much, Aaron and Angie. We're so lucky to have you in scouting. I agree. Well, I agree with the Angie part. You're stuck with me regardless. We're lucky to have Angie for sure. Hey, Edwin asked a good question about venturing in Sea Scouts. So this program was designed by Scouts BSA, as you said earlier, Angelique. Each committee for each program was tasked with forming their own self-assessment. I don't suppose you know if Sea Scouts has ones, do they?
So each program was decided what tools are best for your program. So this is what we came up for Scouts BSA, and it's very much based on all of our leadership materials for both the youth and adults. The questions are coming right from like the troop leader guide and from the patrol leader guidebook. That means it's going to look different for each program. And like for Cub Scouts, right? The Cub Scouts aren't going to be the ones who are answering these. Right. So every program is coming up with their own alternative to self-assess. So theirs might look very different than what Scouts BSA looks like.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Angelique, as always, it is a pleasure. A+ job. I self-assess you today with an A+, even though we don't give grades.
No, we don't assess other people. We assess ourselves.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, I give myself a B-.
Right.
I give Angelique and our viewers an A+. Thanks to you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed Troop Talk Live. We'll be back next month with another episode. Angelique, I hope to see you then. In the meantime, stay cool, everybody. Enjoy your fall. Bye, everybody. Bye, Angelique.
Thanks.